KFSR and CMAC present the Central Valley Ledger, a public affairs program featuring stories from all over the Central Valley with Sevag Tediossian, 90.7 KFSR.
Welcome to the Central Valley Ledger. We're recording out of the beautiful downtown Fresno studios of the Community Media Access Collaborative, Fresno and Clovis, not too far from the newly opened Fulton Street, which used to be the Fulton Mall. If you haven't checked it out, come out and check out the new Fulton Street. Our guest this week is a filmmaker from the Los Angeles area, and she worked on a project that many people in the Valley will find that they've read about, that they know about, and that's the Armenian Genocide. But first and foremost, welcome Diana to the program.
Thank you, Sevag. Thank you.
So I want to make sure I'm getting your name right. Diana Angelson?
Perfect.
Thank you very much. So welcome to the program. You worked on a project about the Armenian Genocide. We have a lot of Armenian Americans here in Fresno that came to Fresno after the genocide. But before we get into that, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm an actress, director, writer, and producer. And the Armenian Genocide was one of my passions, to teach people about the genocide in the first Christian nation.
How did you decide that acting, producing, or this kind of industry is something you wanted to do?
Well, I'm a trained stage actress, and I'm originally from Romania. I went to university there, then I got a scholarship here, continued my studies, and I found out that although I was a great student in university, our system didn't quite teach us about the Armenian Genocide, and I thought I knew everything, but I didn't. So it was the Armenian community in Los Angeles that opened this universe to me. And although we are sister countries, Romania is also a Christian Orthodox nation, I did not understand why we hadn't been taught about that in school or high school or university, and I started to study about it. Obviously, universally, there has been a lack of willingness to acknowledge this. Although our history is, I don't want to say similar, because we have not gone through a genocide of such horrific proportions, but my people has been fighting invasions for hundreds of years. So that was the interesting thing about our education system. Why don't we know about it? So coming here and being a student and finding out about this, I had a wish to one day make a movie about the Armenian Genocide and teach the world about it. And it happened. Miraculously, it did.
So there are a lot of people listening to the program now who are not Armenian Americans, but they've been in Fresno, they've heard about the genocide. We on this program, the Central Valley Ledger, have done numerous things about the genocide. In April, thank you, by the way, you gave us permission to show the movie on our sister station, CMAC, Comcast 93 and AT&T 99. So around the genocide time, we're going to actually show your whole movie. Why should people who don't know about the genocide care about the genocide? I mean, and I'm going to play a little devil's advocate with you, Diana, and say, oh, it happened so long ago.
Well, well, first of all, it is the Christians, the Christian Armenians, that after having been robbed of their homeland, were killed on a day following a decision by a few people, a few heads of state. So to be able to massacre 1.5 million Armenians, women, children, old people, is some sort of a it's that kind of horror people don't want to talk about or remember if it's not their problem. So maybe that's why one of the arguments for me, we cannot forget, we cannot let it happen again, but mostly it is the first genocide in our, the first modern genocide that the Turkish powers tried in 1915 to wipe out a race, a nation, a people, a Christian people. And the fact that it didn't happen because of some survivors that carried the heritage to other countries, one of them being this wonderful country, and to other European countries too. This is something to be proud of, because they couldn't bury the seed. The seed 100 years later is stronger than ever, but that was the intention. So the genocide against Christians in the Middle East is going on still, and goes on and on every day, and we know about it, but nobody quite cares. And this is a problem that I wanted to address against all odds. I was told, well, nobody cares, you won't be able to show your movie, you're going to have problems, you're going to be banned. Well, I did my best to portray the root, the essence of a nation that, although was kneeled, or tried to, recreated itself on a different land in different conditions, and is still strong. So to me, and there are not many nations today that are so proud of their Christian heritage. Mostly there are nations today that deny their Christian heritage, or that raise their kid atheist, or they go with the new age. That is what's trendy today. So for me, the Armenians nowadays are raising their families and their kids in a way that I'm proud of. Mm-hmm. And I want, in my way, to give thanks, to acknowledge, and to give my respects to this nation, due to whom we, other Christians, still exist, or have an environment where we can exist.
So going back to actually making this movie, you wrote it too, correct? So you wrote it, produced it. Did you direct it as well?
Yes, I directed it. It was my directorial.
So how did you come about putting the pieces together? Because, you're surrounded obviously by Armenians or Armenian Americans. Did you just listen to other people's stories, or talk about how you created this?
Basically, I've heard a lot of stories, and all of the 1 million stories, 1.5 million stories of the survivors of the Armenian genocide are all true, real, and alive today. And I wanted to create a metaphor of the Armenian spirit, a metaphor of, no matter how much you're trying to kill me, to destroy me, to wipe me and my family, I will still be there, and 100 years from now, I'll still be there, and I'll be stronger. So I tried to, Tigran Orbelian, he is the 10-year-old boy that goes through this, and he is the metaphor of the Armenian people. He is the Armenian people, and we find him during the genocide, and we find him after, and we find him 100 years later, which is the beauty of this movie. And it's not an easy movie to watch. Yeah, it's a very sad story.
It is. I mean, the things that happened during the Armenian genocide are so atrocious. My grandfather survived it, but he left us an audio tape of some of the things he saw as a 5-6-year-old kid going through the genocide. And some of the things you don't want, I had trouble listening to the story in the audio tape because it's some of the things you don't want a kid to even see or know about. But I like the angle that you're taking in that, it happened and now this community is stronger and trying to get the genocide recognized. So you make the movie, and then what is the feedback you got from people from the Armenian American community?
Well, they loved it. A lot of them contributed to it. We have a scene where we have hundreds of people. The Pope, Pope Francis, invited us. Well, I also starred and was part of another movie, The Second Coming of Christ, that's coming out in March, actually. You can find it in Walmart. So we were invited to the Vatican to talk to the Pope, to his sanctity, and I gave him a present, the movie. And that day, in the big piazza, he talked about the Armenians. He held our movie, our DVD, Armenia, My Love, in his hands. Then he talked about the Armenian genocide and how he knew about these atrocities. And the Vatican newspaper published a few lines about us and the other movie, The Second Coming of Christ. So it was received really well. A lot of different people worked on it. Different people meaning an international community of, an Italian composer, my Israeli editor, my Romanian cinematographer, who really is the person to thank for such an amazing image. And I think a lot of times people don't really realize that the cinematographer is the person to thank. Everybody acknowledges the actress, the director, the producers. Marius Nakshu, a Romanian, amazing, talented person. So the movie was very well received. It is a different kind of movie, obviously. It's not your mainstream action movie. And I'm curious about how you are going to feel afterwards. Again, it's not a very easy movie to watch. I had my friends, my Armenian girlfriends, that just could not quite watch it. It's not easy. It's not easy because it's not politically correct. It definitely shows some realities that we recreated, and that was not easy to do. But for people to know what really happened and how Christian women, Armenian women, were treated, and how they were impaled, and how the kids were taken. So I would say it is a beautiful movie, and I'm also very lucky that I had Shake Tukmanian, who's your amazing Armenian actress, and Nazo Bravo, who's another Armenian actor, and Arman Nishanian, another Armenian actor. So we had a few Armenians playing major parts that are extremely talented and that really, really added immensely to this movie. So I'm really proud that I could give something to the world about this piece of history, and then people now know about it.
So let's take a few minute break and watch a short clip from the movie Armenia, My Love.
Can let you go if you change your religion. They cut his head.
In the 16th century, the Ottoman Empire and Persia divided our country.
This day never quite disappeared from the shattered memory of this little human being who was only 10 when the last ray of light ended his childhood forever.
So when the war is over, we will have our own country back?
Yes, my dear. I have a feeling that great things will happen this year.
They are at war. We are nobody.
There will be nobody on our land if they lose the war.
My world was shattered.
You will make this the first Christian country of the world.
You'll cross the mountains and you'll get to the sea.
My son needs to be free. We need to get to America. I wish I had given you a different life. You gave me the most beautiful life.
You shall be good, and you shall be kind, and you shall be generous, and you shall teach your children about us, about our faith, our strength.
And I promise never to let your world be shattered again. I love you.
And I love you.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that clip. Diana, before we talk a little bit about your other projects, can you tell us a little bit more about Armenia, My Love? Where was it shot, and was it easy to shoot this film?
Well, it was not easy to shoot. We had over 52 locations, and it took over 3 months to shoot and a year in post-production. We had quite some amazing locations we found. A few of them were in the Mojave Desert, maybe 250 miles towards Nevada. That's where we have a farm and some of the other locations, old houses. A lot of that desert looks exactly like the desert that your ancestors had to go through. Again, it wasn't easy because we had the deportation scenes, and I remember the actors. We had to go for hours and walk for hours to film our scenes, and it was really hot, maybe 110 degrees.
Wow, that's hot.
I had quite a few Armenian families that came, some of the actors, and some came to be a background for this, and they were suffering from heat and dehydration because, you know, the water we could carry with us, maybe everybody had a little bit of water, and then we just moved a few miles away. And I remember I told this story because it's an important story. I said, we are all suffering here today in the heat, but we are all going to go back to our beautiful lives, comfy cars with AC. But your ancestors didn't.
You know, Diana, as I'm doing this interview, I see the emotion in you. I see how powerful this film has impacted you, but I think that's just, you're a person that really gets deep emotionally in these projects. how do you continue? What advice do you give somebody who wants to do a project, but it's so close to home that they may not be willing to do it because they may, emotionally have struggles?
I don't know. You just have to do it, and believe me, in post-production, when you have to just spend time there with the editor, you're going to, to cry a lot, maybe. Or when you're going to add the music, and when you're going to talk about it in interviews, and when you're going to watch your movie on the big screen. But, we have a mission, and depending on one's mission, we have to do these things. Yeah. So our great-grandkids will not one day forget, because it's so easy these days to make the kids forget, to teach them other things, other values. So I think the movies, as well as the books, interviews, recordings of our life, are a testimony for the future, and they cannot be destroyed.
So people in Fresno, the audience members watching this on Comcast 93 and AT&T 99, the CMAC channels, are going to be able to watch Armenia, My Love. So for those who don't know about the genocide, or what do you have, how do you prep them? What do you tell someone that's listening to this interview now who says, you know what, I'm going to go find Armenia, My Love, I'm going to watch it?
I would say that 103 now, years ago, on a day of April after Easter, Armenians who were living as guests in their own nation under the Ottoman Empire were taken from their homes with the intention of being wiped from the face of the earth. They are the first Christian nation that preserved their faith against the Muslim invasion, against the wish and the Islamization, the forced Islamization that was done, or was trying, that they were trying to do with the Christians. And against all odds, they did not bow their heads. Armenians were killed for who they were, for what they believed, for whom they believed in. And even so, they did not die. And their great-great-grandkids today honor this. So this is the essence of the Armenian genocide. It's pride to be who you are, and we, the rest of us, should bow our heads, because you would not find quite many nations that are so strong still after all this time.
So let's now talk about your next project. You said it's coming out in March, so exciting. Congratulations about that. What's the name of it? What is it about?
Christ is an action thriller apocalyptic movie that shows the end of times the way I wrote it, I guess. And it had a premiere in December, and now Sony is going to distribute it on VOD and DVD. So
congratulations on that.
Thank you. That was another hard project, because obviously it is another Christian movie. Mm-hmm. And it's mostly about how people are trained to lose their faith in God, in our only God, and how easy it is for us to just go along with the waves and the trends of this
life
era we live in. And it's about faith mostly, and how faith can bring miracles. It's a beautiful film too that I'm really thankful for.
So how can people go purchase it, or how can we as a community help you in your vision in bringing these kind of stories to life?
You can go to Walmart and buy a DVD or on VOD, I guess. Our production company, Krista Films, KristaFilms.com, has all the information there, as well as my Facebook page, Diana Angelson. You can obviously find, the trailer or information on KristaFilms.com. And yeah, the more people watch it, the more happiness there will be, because then our type of movies will have an audience, and our beliefs won't be buried with the times.
And by the way, I want to say congratulations on the Pope even, saw this film. So, I mean, you said it so calmly, but that's a huge accomplishment. I mean, you have the Pope who watched your film.
I know, being there, up there with him and, well, everybody else, but being able to speak with him on an invitation like that was one of the most touching moments, because it was in the context of the genocide. And although we are not Catholic, I felt that one day we could all unite our church so we could all be together, one Christian family. And it is the spirit of love. It's love everybody. That's why Armenia is, the actual title was Armenia, my country, my mother, my love. It is about that love will never die. Love for your country, for your motherland, and mother, and for your God, our God.
Diana, we are out of time this week on the program. I can talk to you for hours about the different projects that you're involved in and the different aspects of movie making, but thank you so much for joining us this week on the program. We, the Community Media Access Collaborative channels, will be playing Armenia, My Love, so that, hopefully we get some interest generated for you. Again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, and we'll keep in touch.
We will. That's all for this edition of the Central Valley Ledger. Our guest this week joined us via Skype. It's Diana Angelson. She is a film writer, an actress, a director, a producer. She does a lot of things in the industry. She has a new project coming out. What is it called, Diana?
The Second Coming of Christ.
The Second Coming of Christ. So for those of you who are listening, go out and check that out. It's coming out in March. That's all for this edition. Thank you to our audience members listening to this broadcast on 90.7 FM, KFSR, Fresno, and to those watching this broadcast on the Community Media Access Collaborative channels, Comcast 93 and AT&T 99. We hope you enjoyed the program this week. Tune in next week to a new edition.
KFSR and CMAC present the Central Valley Ledger every Sunday morning at 11:30. For a complete program schedule, visit kfsr.org.